Donington Historic Festival took place over 2 days. We only went on the Sunday, on the 1st of May. I've been going to Donington for years. My father even walked me around the circuit in the early 70s when Tom Wheatcroft first took it over. It was the first time we'd been there since the COVID lockdown. And here we are in the paddock looking at some beautiful machinery. Costin listed Jag. This one was actually for sale, didn't ask how much, but a wonderful machine. The trade village is always a great distraction between the races. Art, models, automobilia. A special mention must go out to classic enamels. As you can see here, a fantastic collection of enamel signs, and I even bought myself a Bugatti mug that takes pride of place in my study. Second Skin, a retail outlet for leather goods and clothing in a sort of retro style, had some really interesting stuff. Classic Racing Spirits is a gin distillery, and wonderful bottles they've got there, one called the Spitfire, and just bang on cue we had a flyby by a Spitfire, and there it is, just tilting its wings to say goodbye. And the first race that we caught was the pre-war sports car race, and we're just catching their Lucas Halusa in a beautiful 8C Alpha. The race was won by the 2-litre Alta. Tom Hardman there with the Bugatti, he got a drive in that, lucky him. Series 1 Morgan, probably one of the first four-wheeled Morgans, very early car that, and Bentley. And the Riley Brooklands, which we actually sold to Nigel Dowding. A trio of pre-war Aston Martins. Gosh, they're fantastic. Here's the winning Alta, driven by Gareth Burnett. Been winning a lot of races, 2-litre engine in that. And of course, a tremendous mix in the paddock. This car, BMW 1973, I think, BMW CSL, Jägermaster colours, and unmistakable in that orange. Looked after by Patrick Blakeney Edwards, who also looks after this wonderful Cooper Jaguar T38, and he won the Woodcut Trophy for pre-1956 sports cars on the Saturday. The iconic Group C cars from the early 80s always pull in the crowds. We don't see them often. They've not been at Donington since the early 2000s, and in the past it's been quite difficult to get a full grid of these cars, but they make such an amazing sound. Here we can see a last-minute panic, and my goodness, this brings back memories. You've been there in the collection area for ages, you think the car's fine, and then everybody starts up and leaves and your car doesn't start, and they've obviously got that going. Eye-catching, that Jaguar XKR8 in the front. Of course, these are the cars that Martin Brundle drove back in the day. Just wonderful, the noise and colour of these cars. Andrew Bentley went on to win in the Jaguar XKR8, followed by David Hart in his Lola, which I think was powered by a Judd V10, but it made a fantastic sound. The Pall Mall Trophy, a 3-hour race for pre-66 GT and touring cars, was one of the highlights for me. And we're just in the pits here, and the standard of preparation of these cars is absolutely phenomenal. This Lotus Elan seems to be receiving major surgery just before the race. It almost looks like a total engine rebuild. This is a favourite of mine, the Elva GT 160, just a little BMW 2-litre engine in that, but a wonderful machine. That's John Minshaw at the front there, followed by the Cottingham Gerardo Costin Jag, and a whole host of Cobras, E-Types, TVRs, Aston Martin in there, following a very sort of Porsche 911s as well, and Aston Martin DB4 GT. What a high-speed traffic jam that is. Nearly 40 cars on that grid, and what an amazing mix. I think this is the Fiskin E-Type that we're seeing, followed by a personal favourite of mine, TVR Griffith, V8 engine in a very short wheelbase car. I always wonder about track limits on this. I always feel that you're meant to have 2 wheels on the tarmac, but obviously that E-Type's not within the track limits, but I'm sure probably gave back that place. Always interesting to see the little Lotuses up with the bigger engine V8s, and really a well-driven Lotus Elan is something amazing to watch. And look at the little Elva there, showing its prowess by nipping inside the Shelby Daytona Cobra, and another Elan being driven very hard. Phenomenal collection of cars. Really is an impressive grid. Oh, and of course, with so many cars on the grid, incidents do take place. Very sad to see. That's a TVR Grand Tourer 114, I think that was. Not quite sure what happened there, just sort of caught that tyre barrier. And of course, you have your own incident, but it's pretty nerve-wracking to see the other cars coming down that straight whilst you're parked there and unable to move. The marshals jumping in there, quite a scary situation, trying to recover the bonnet, with the other cars still at speed. Yellow flags being waved, you can see there in the background, and the recovery vehicle. But all the time and effort to get that car onto the grid, and expense, of course, and so sad to see that race up and running again. There's still a lot of cars very close together going through that chicane, but what thrilling stuff. That's the beautiful John Minshaw, Phil Keane Jaguar semi-lightweight E-Type. Just beautiful cars. Didn't actually do particularly well in period, but now seem to be dominating historic racing. That lovely Costin Lister coming through the chicane. That car actually won last year with Max Gerardo and James Cottingham driving it, and pretty impressive. It's a 1959 car. The E-Type's obviously a lot younger. The Minshaw E-Type's a 1961 car. And then it was all over as people packed up. Always interesting to see the various forms of transportation in the paddock. I think this is Oliver Llewellyn packing away his Bentley. There you go, pretty easily done.